All right, so this is one more video for Unit 1, and it is talking about polarity and solubility. So when we're talking about polarity, what we mean is that a molecule has poles, it has a positive pole and a negative pole, kind of like the South Pole and the North Pole. I didn't draw my hydrogens very equal, but pretend they are. So when oxygen and hydrogen come together to form water, oxygen is more electronegative. That means it is an electron hog, and it needs 2 more electrons to form a full octet. Hydrogen just has 1 electron, so it's willing to share with oxygen. It doesn't want to give up its only electron, but it's willing to share that 1 electron with hydrogen. So it is a covalent bond because they are sharing. Sometimes the electron's over here, and sometimes it's over here. So it's kind of going between the two. But oxygen is going to hog it. It's going to say, well, thank you for sharing, but I'm going to keep it like 70% of the time or whatever. Because of that, because it's going to hold on to those 2 electrons a little more frequently than the hydrogens get them, it's going to make the oxygen slightly negative because electrons have a negative charge. It also means that the hydrogens have a slightly positive charge. Okay, so when the hydrogens have their electrons, everybody's neutral. But when oxygen has the 2 electrons, it's negative, and the hydrogens become positive. And so if you average out every minute of the day for water, you're going to see that it's going to tend towards this because oxygen is going to hog those electrons more than half the time. So you're going to see oxygen tends to be negative more than half the time, hydrogens tend to be positive. And so that means it is a polar molecule because it has poles. If it doesn't have poles, like oil, it's nonpolar. So water is polar. Water is also the universal solvent. So pretty much anything that you put in water over time, water will dissolve it. That could be sand, it could be a sugar cube, it could be, something that would rust over time. It's just water is always going to be eating away at things. So it is the universal solvent. However, it does not do well with nonpolar things, okay? All right, so when it comes to solubility, we know that like dissolves like. And what we mean by that is that if you have a polar solution, like water-based solution, it is only going to dissolve polar things. So polar will only dissolve other polar. Polar dissolves other. Polar and nonpolar will dissolve other nonpolar. So if you were to mix oil and water, they're not going to mix. Whoops, nonpolar. Okay, because oil is nonpolar, water is polar. But if you were to take something else polar and put it in water, it's going to be fine. If you were to take 2 oils and mix them together, they're going to be fine because they're both nonpolar. And that's what we mean when we say like dissolves like. And so that's the role of polarity in regards to solubility. Basically, polar dissolves polar and nonpolar dissolves nonpolar. All right, the last part of this video is I can define the parts of a solution. So a solution is made of 2 parts. It is the solvent, and the solvent is doing the dissolving. So if we were making Kool-Aid, this would be water. Whoops, doing the dissolving. And then we have, I can't talk and write, and then we have the solute, which is being dissolved. So this would be the sugar in the Kool-Aid. If you were mixing carbon dioxide in water, which is what we do when we make carbonated beverages, then the solute would be the carbon dioxide and the solvent would again be water. So it doesn't always have to be a solid and a liquid. It can be a gas and a gas and a liquid. It can be a liquid and another liquid. But the one that is the base that is doing the dissolving is the solvent, and the one that is being dissolved is the solute. And so that is polarity. How it contributes to life. I didn't mention that, but this is super important with your cell membrane. We'll talk about that more in Unit 2. But the cell membrane is set up so that you have these polar tops and bottoms with a nonpolar middle. And so because the center of your bilayer is nonpolar, only nonpolar things can pass through. Anything that's polar is going to get kicked back out. Unless it goes through a protein. And so that's one way that your cell protects itself, and every living creature has cell membranes. And so that is one huge way that polarity is important to living creatures. I hope that helps and answers all your questions about polarity and solubility. If it doesn't, let me know and we'll go over some more. And that's it.